Okay, good evening. The Design Review Board No.1 public meeting of January 21st, 2009 is called to order. Please refrain from talking amongst yourselves during the meeting, and please turn off or put on vibrate all cell phones and pagers. If you need to talk, please leave the meeting room. Anyone who wishes to speak, including applicants, is asked to completely fill out one of the speaker cards provided at the table by the front door and submit it to staff. You'll be called to present a case to speak on any specific item as desired. Anyone who wishes to be re-noticed about a project must completely fill out one of the postcards provided at the table by the front door and submit it to staff to receive notice of subsequent meetings. Current Design Review Board agendas are available by calling our Design Review Board hotline at 818-548-3171 or by visiting our website at www.ci.glendale.ca.us. A handout describing the procedures of the meeting, possible board decisions, and Design Review Board reconsideration and appeals is available at the table by the front door. Please note that appeals must be filed within 15 calendar days of the Design Review Board decision date. The chairperson may reorder agenda items at his discretion. Roll call, Board Member Oliano.
Here.
Board Member Insua.
Here.
Board Member Palmer. Board Member Simonian.
Present.
Chairman Yu.
Here.
Report regarding posting of the agenda. The agenda for this meeting was posted on the bulletin board outside City Hall at or before 5 p.m. on January 14th, 2010. Oral communications. The discussion is limited to items not a part of this agenda. I have no oral communication cards.
I don't have any cards either.
There as well. Proceed on to the review calendar. There are no staff announcements at this point in time, and there are no items on the consent calendar, which leads us to our regular agenda, and I'll turn the meeting over to Chairman Yu.
Thank you. Welcome to Design Review Board 1, first one for this new calendar year. We have one case today, 4104 Lowell Avenue, and rather.
Thank you, Chairman Yu, and good evening. Good evening, board members as well. The project before you is case number 1 PDR 2009-014-P. The applicant is requesting for a preliminary review of this project. The project is located at 4104 Lowell Avenue. This is just north of the 210 freeway. The property is an irregularly shaped flag lot and has an area of 19,190 square feet. The lot was developed with a 980 square foot house and a detached two-car garage. Due to the shape and orientation of the property, it is not readily visible from the public right-of-way. This property is zoned R1, Floor Area District 2, and it is located in the Foothill neighborhood. This property, by way of some background, this property has a long history dating back to December 2004, when the violation was first discovered by Neighborhood Services. And on April 4, 2006, approximately 2 years later, a design review application was submitted and was later rejected since it was deemed incomplete at that time. This was assigned a different case number. The project before you was submitted earlier this year, and if you would like a more detailed history of this violation, Mr. Rene Sada from Neighborhood Services is here to speak more on that if you would like later on. The applicant is proposing to legalize an unpermitted first and second story addition totaling 4,935 square feet. I would also like to make a correction at this point. The notice that was sent out specified that the unpermitted addition was totals 3,160 square feet. That was a mistake on staff's part in calculating the square footage. So it's actually 4,935 square feet. The existing and proposed floor area totals The existing and proposed floor area total 5,915 square feet in all. However, given the lot size and zoning designations of the property, a maximum of 4,919 square feet of livable space is permitted. Therefore, the project is 996 square feet over the permitted threshold. And if the square footage cannot be reduced in conjunction with the design changes, a variance would be required as well as a third car garage. Given the lot size and shape, the site planning of the project differ greatly from the lots with street frontages and does not address the street the same way as other properties in this area. However, given the uniqueness of the lot, the proposed site planning appears to be appropriate. The board may consider the unique configuration of the lot and lack of visibility in considering the project design. At the current square footage, the project is deficient, as I stated earlier, of the required parking spaces. In other areas, the project meets the setback, lot coverage, and landscape requirement, as well as the overall height. As previously stated, the project before you is 5,915 square feet, built on 2 levels. The second floor is brand new, since the original house was only built on 1 level. The size of the proposed project is significantly larger than nearby properties. It exceeds the FAR again by 996 square feet, and the design guidelines for this area encourage buildings to be step back the second floor and to incorporate a pitched roof design. The project attempts to address mass and scale by providing variation in the building walls, as reflected on the drawings behind you. However, placing the second level further away from the first floor or reducing the size of the second floor would improve the mass and scale further. Other corrective measures include simplifying the roof design as well as an improved fenestration pattern. In regards to the building design and detailing, in its current condition, the house exhibits contemporary influences. In meeting with the applicant, staff provided design guidance as reflected in the recommended conditions. Some examples of past DRB projects were also presented to the applicant and were shared with the applicant. These examples successfully address the site planning, mass and scale, and building design. These areas are also the primary focus of the Foothill neighborhood, since there is no predominant architectural style. Similarly, there is no preferred style in this neighborhood. The proposed project does not appear to support a single design idea. This is reflected in the roof design and roof form. There are inconsistencies in the fenestration patterns, exterior finishes, and window types and style. And the project is also proposing aluminum windows with internal muntins of various shapes and styles. The exterior finishes include stucco, stone veneer, river rock, board and batten siding, and composition shingle. While some of these materials are appropriate for a contemporary building, together they appear to conflict with one another. Also, while a variety of materials are encouraged in most cases to provide visual interest as a way to break up the building's mass, the selected materials do not appear to enhance the chosen style. Due to the severity and extensiveness of the unpermitted addition, this project was a challenge for both the applicant and staff. At this point, the applicant is interested in getting the board's guidance before pursuing the project further. And given the analysis provided in the staff report in the area of site planning, mass and scale, and building design and detailing, staff recommends that the project proceeds to the next stage with recommended comments or conditions. And if you would like, I can go over the conditions with you. These conditions are reflective of the items we discussed with the applicant and the owner when we met with them.
Okay.
Would you like me to go over them?
Sure, let's go over
Okay. Condition number 1, recommend condition number 1 is to revise the overall design and refer to architectural precedents for the contemporary style. 2, revise the roof design and composition of roof lines and should appear unified and or simplified. 3, additional massing configurations should be considered, such as placing the second story further away from the first story or reducing the size of the second floor in relation to the ground floor. 4, restudy the fenestration pattern on all elevations, including the window-to-wall ratio and proportionality and balance. 5, restudy the window's shape, style, size, and placement. 6, revise exterior finishes to reinforce the building's design. 7, the stone veneer and river rock should be replaced with another material. And 8, Various exterior finishes should be applied consistently at appropriate locations throughout the exterior of the house. 9, exterior cladding materials should start and terminate at logical locations. 10, attic space should not have a clearance greater than 5 feet 11 inches. 11, all windows should be installed as nail-in and not as Z-bar installation in order to achieve a thin profile. 12, trims and molding should not be used around windows and door openings. 13, all windows should not possess internal muntins. If muntins are desired, they should be provided on the exterior. And 14, simplify the materials for the exterior finishes in order to provide a unifying theme. And that concludes my presentation. The owner is also here to answer any question you may have.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions? Yes, go ahead.
In the spirit of trying to provide guidance and dialogue and stuff, a question that comes to mind. If the project is reviewed and approved with respect to size, and the size stays the same, it's still over the allowable square footage of the FAR for about 996 square feet, which would require the applicant to get a variance. A concern that I have, and in the spirit of the guidance that we want to offer, because it's a preliminary submittal, we have a neighborhood average of about 1,250 to 1,500 square feet of homes. So the letter that I would imagine being written, if it was approved for a variance, would say something like, we're 996 square feet above the allowable, and at the same time, we have a neighborhood average, which is one of the things that we look at, of about 1,500 square feet, more than double, in fact, double and another 0.5. In the spirit of guidance, I can't imagine our administrator could approve such a thing for a variance. It doesn't seem feasible. So for me, I'm sort of like in vapor lock, like, why are we even thinking about design? And I know why, but why are we even thinking about design? Because even if we approve the design, there'll be this huge, overwhelming variance that I can't imagine could be approved. The next thing that comes to mind is building and safety. Often, things are built without permit, and mistakes are made. But often, those things are something relatively modest. Someone did a lean-to, someone did an addition to a garage, someone did a shed, someone did a small addition, or converted a garage, and in which then the building department comes out and says, okay, I can't see the internal workings of this wall assembly, foundations, wall assemblies. We live in highly earthquake-susceptible zones, seismic. Homes and buildings need to have shear panels, anchor bolts, tie-downs. The list goes on and on and on that you don't have the luxury of seeing in a home of this type. Has the building department been aware of this incredibly large construction? And their feeling is, we can't do a retroactive inspection and review of the type that happens often, because we're looking at a whole home here. And the Department of Building isn't just a building department. It's the building and safety department. And often it's all about safety. Has anyone, what's the latest on that? And this is only in the spirit of providing guidance, because I sure hate to say change these 14 things which are aesthetics and still have this overwhelming, monumental mountain of the variance and building and safety. Can you speak to those things?
Thank you, Mr. Insua and board members. Your points are all valid, and building and safety is well aware of this project, and that's why they stopped work on this property. The building, the project is unfinished right now at this stage. There's some areas where it's not fully covered, such as stucco. So they are aware of the conditions, of the situation that we're facing. However, they're waiting to see the outcome of this project and where it's heading before continuing enforcement on this case.
This is only in the spirit of guidance. Safety.
If I might
Yes.
just chime in here a little bit. I think, as you're well aware, you do have the discretion to require things that are more restrictive than what the code allows. Second, you do not have to presume that they will get a variance at all. And, part of your discussion, again, you're not going to be recommending approval or denial of anything tonight. You're only going to be looking at it and saying, you could say this house is too massive and some of the square footage should be removed so that you don't need a variance. You can do that. You can say it's so far above the average, we'd like to see 3,000 square feet knocked out of this house. I'm not suggesting that you do that, but you have a lot of discretion and a lot of in reviewing this project and they've asked for guidance. Now, whether they choose to take that guidance or not, that's up to them as the applicant. Yeah. But I don't think, given this is a preliminary review, they do not have a variance in hand. I would not presume that they will get one or that one would be denied. It's just something that's out there looming that they have to deal with as the applicant. But you can tell them what you want to see on this house. If you feel we've had many cases where the board has decided something's too massive, there's too much floor area. We think you should reduce the floor area of the house.
Yeah.
So that's sort of your call. But the presumption of a variance, I don't think is. I mean, you can presume it if you wish, but I don't think that's something that you have to take into account.
And my presumption is that I can't imagine. And then we go back to safety. I mean, this house, people can build homes without architects and engineers. It's a prescriptive, constructive method, meaning you follow the guidelines which are issued by the city of Glendale, every city. Follow the framing plan, follow the shear diaphragms, follow all that stuff, and people can build their own homes. Except when you start getting into areas of construction and design which go outside the areas of prescriptive. Hip roofs, special constructions, and when you look at this home, it's all special construction. If I was the inspector, I'd say, I want to know where that nail is up on that roof, transferring all the way down through the nailing patterns, through the clips. It's monumental. And you as the applicant are thinking that design is your, I'm frightened for you. There's so much here. So anyway, I just spoke my piece. Safety is a big issue here, especially in a two-story structure. As an architect, I love siding and stone and all that other stuff, but I wouldn't even be worried about siding or stone right now. But anyway, this is design review. That's the only thing I was going to say. Wow.
So noted. Bart had a question.
Yes, and everyone has their set of questions as well before we start analyzing this. Some of the things that are important to me to try to understand is more of the chronological history that occurred on the site. And I'm wondering if staff might have the answers for this. If not, we'll have to maybe ask them from the applicant. Number one is, were all these modifications since 2004 done under the current ownership? Or was it a previous owner that had gone through this? Secondly was there any modifications done since the 2006, the April 4, 2006 submittal, because that was submitted in a DRB and it was deemed incomplete? And wondering if that's the second question, is what improvements were done after that? And you might not know all this because these are technical questions that we would need to maybe dive into a little bit. And we've resubmitted it now. And I'm wondering, how long has the neighborhood services stopped work orders on this, and if construction has continued while the stop work order was issued? So those are my three questions.
I would defer those questions to Renee Sada from Neighborhood Services,
Okay.
since she's the inspector in charge of this property.
Okay, wonderful.
Okay, maybe should we get that answer first, or should we talk to the owner first? What do you guys?
I would like,
Want to talk to Renee first?
my opinion is it'd be nice to hear the neighborhood services as
Okay.
sort of a backdrop.
To answer some of those questions first.
Answer some of those questions.
If you could fill out a card afterwards too, but state your name and address for the record, please.
Renee Sada, Neighborhood Services Inspector. On my home address?
Whichever address you want to give us.
141 North Glendale Avenue, room 114.
Thank you.
This case originated with Building and Safety in 2004, and it was assigned to Neighborhood Services to take over the enforcement aspects of it in 2007, in March of 2007. Looking at my notes here, there was stop work orders issued by the Building and Safety Inspector, Ron Billings, in 2004. Between 2004 and 2007, there may have been additional work done that I'm not personally aware of. I believe once I was assigned to this case, no further work was done, to my knowledge. And as Mr. DeWong stated, the house remains pretty much in an unfinished state, major portions of it. So that's kind of where we're at now. I mean, we're just waiting for this process to wind its way through and see where we're at so we could proceed. But definitely, as Mr. Insua stated, there would be definitely, you have to expose quite a bit of the structural members to ensure their proper construction and safety. Did you want any more detailed information that I could get for you?
Just a quick question. It's a clarification, really. And so you were assigned to the case March of 2007, and to the best of your knowledge, no work has gone on the property since then?
Since then, yes, to the best of my knowledge.
Okay, questions?
I have a question. You said in 2004 it was initially turned over to Building and Safety.
Building and Safety became aware of and they issued the stop work order at that
And then
point.
you said it was given to Neighborhood Services in 2007?
Yes.
So there was nothing done between 2004 and 2007 from the city's standpoint?
No, I believe Building and Safety did issue stop work orders and sent notices to the owner
During that time?
during that time. And then they basically just transferred it to our department to continue with the enforcement of it. This case is currently has been referred to the city attorney's office, so it is a city attorney case. So at this time, we're just waiting.
And another clarification, as far as your concern or as the knowledge that you might have, when Ron Billing issued the stop order in December of 2004 until March of 2007 when the case was assigned to you, what work occurred on the project between those timeframes?
That I don't have the answer for you right now.
Okay.
If you could allow me a moment to just review my case file, maybe I could find that for you, because I do believe some of Ron's Billings notes are in here.
Great. Which would say what the stop order was for
Exactly,
and so
yeah.
forth.
So if you give me a moment to just kind of review this.
Okay. Is there anything else that you wanted to tell us about the case that...
Nothing, I think that's pertinent to today's hearing. But
Okay.
we've been in contact with the owner, and they've been in communication with us during this whole process. I believe they're earnestly trying to get this project approved and legalized.
Have you been in contact with just one owner since?
I've been in contact with Mr. Yazgiri, and I believe Ms. Shea, who I believe is also an owner of this property. The current ownership status, I'm not exactly sure who is the legal owner. I know Mr. Yazgiri has been represented.
But it appears it hasn't been sold and new owners come in.
As far as I am aware of, no. Okay, so if you just give me a minute to review the
Okay.
case file, then I could
If you
get
could just
that
let
information.
us know once you
Absolutely.
get through it, if you find anything else. Okay, thank you. Okay, well, let's move on. The card for the owner, Jesse, is wire.
Izagiri, thank you.
Izagiri, okay, thanks. If you could state your name and address for the record, please.
Jesse Izagiri, 4104 Lowell Avenue, La Presenta.
Okay, is there anything you wanted to say, or?
So, in response to the safety issue, architects and engineers from the point we purchased this property have gone through every nail from top to bottom, and it's actually a little bit overbuilt to code. It's built over code as it stands. Code's changed, though, so depending about when we can eventually get back into building safety to bring it up to the current codes. I believe on record there's more than 8 permits that were taken out on this at various times, starting back in the 50s through the 70s, the 80s of different owners. And we got it in about 2004, and been kind of trying to work on this thing since. Some of the recommendations, I just became aware of them, setbacks and such. We're willing to work with that. Absolutely. If there's 900 square feet over, I believe that's probably exists just in the covered patio space alone, which would be a simple remedy. And opening up a wall, we're completely and totally willing and able to work with the issues to bring it to resolve, because it has been on the books way too long for the city's point and from our pockets as well.
Okay.
The lot, I think rather mentioned, the house does sit in a peculiar spot on the lot, but in this situation, it works perfectly because it allows a 15,000 square foot play area for the kids and such. So that might be something needs to be addressed or doesn't need to be addressed. The setbacks, actually, when it became after the initial red tag, we call it, from city, we reduced the house 2,000 square foot. So this thing was even bigger and was actually reduced by 2,000 square foot.
So when you got the red tag, you continued working, although in the spirit of reducing the square footages,
The actual notice said to return the structure to its original state,
and you did that.
and that's what we did. And then upon them coming and re-inspecting, they said, oh, wait a minute, you need a permit for that as well. And that's when we started the design process, right then and there. We thought we were following.
I'm a little
a specific
confused. So
order.
when you got red tagged, the red tag said bring it back to its original state.
It's a form letter, and it says both to stop work and restore. And I believe there's some court action involved. It said return structure to the original state.
And what's the original state?
This was how we purchased it.
How many square feet were there when you purchased it?
Basically, there was framed up over 7,000 square foot.
Okay, so I understand. So the original state that the city said, because they can only rely on the permitted square footage, would be like 900, 1,000 square feet. So when they said original state, they would have probably been saying to the original permitted state, which was 1,000 square feet.
I'm not sure because there was apparently 6 additional permits for various room additions and bathrooms and legalize the garage and so on and so forth that somehow are lost in limbo between city and the legal property description. I heard somewhere along the line there was a fire somewhere in the city, or some records could have been lost or destroyed. There's rumors, but over the last 6 years, we've heard quite a few things.
So when you got the stop order and they said return it to the original state, did you go to the building department and say, okay, let's find out what they're talking about, what's going on here, what they consider the original state?
Correct, and there's a big gray area in between the two, because there's legalized permits for electrical and the roofing, and
What was your understanding of bringing it back to its original state?
it was at this condition is what we left it at.
7,000 square feet is
No, it was uncovered quite a bit of it, and we actually reduced some of the exterior property lines down to what would be considered attic space.
Is there a reason why they didn't issue you a permit to reduce it? And because, anything, is there a reason when they say reduce it to the original state and that original state needs to be permitted, that they didn't you didn't submit plans, issue you a permit, and then you start working on it to reduce square footage?
To do anything, we have to come before the board, and that's where we've been for quite a while here. So it's a catch-22. You can't build until you design and get design approval, then we go over to building. I don't know if that answers your question.
Do we have any other questions? Go ahead.
If you would provide some more clarification on the size of the home, when did you purchase the house?
I was back I became involved in late 2003.
Involved as an owner?
Correct. A family member bought it.
Okay, a family member bought it in late 2003?
Yes.
And
Was your family member that owned it before that?
No, they bought it from a builder.
Okay, so family member. Okay.
and so you bought it from a builder, and then what was the square footage, give or take, when your family purchased it in late 2003?
I believe it's roughly 7,000 feet under.
And what prompted Ron Billing to come out in December of 2004 to give you a stop order. What was being worked on?
I believe we were just replacing some roofing.
And
And applying tarps and such, try to keep the structure dry from the weather in December.
I see. Okay. And so there was a stop order, which Neighborhood Services is going over the files for stop work on possible roofing and so forth. And that's when you realized that your square footage is way over, and you were told to bring it back to the original state?
No, Billings had given us that, and it took quite a while to present plans and get engineers and architects involved to dissect the project and see how it was built and put as-built drawings together for the project to submit to the design review board at that time, which I think was a couple boards back, maybe.
And that was in April 4th of 2006
Right.
when it was submitted. And
But it never went to DRB because it was incomplete.
The application was incomplete.
And what work has occurred since the April 4th, 2006 till now?
Additional work except for plans and such.
And so this structure has been open, no roof has been placed, it has tarps on it for the last 3 or 4 years?
Correct.
So this water has it been
It's dry.
habitable?
Yeah, well, correct. There's legal parts that are definitely permitted that somehow don't show up in the city's records, but, I can't explain that to
Do
you.
you have copies of those that are legal?
They're actually in the city files. We obtained them from the city.
Okay.
And so you've been living there?
But there's actually, there's a structure that's weatherproof, and then there's the outer parts that are.
And that's just been under the weather and getting rained on?
No, it's protected. We tarped it.
It's been tarped for the last few years?
Right, very well.
And the tarp is still there?
Well, you're correct.
Wow, okay.
So between 2004 and 2007, when you said you got it at 7,000 square feet and now it's at 5,000 something, there was some work to reduce it down to that, right?
Correct.
So there was some work done between 2004 and 2007.
Correct.
Was that work done with permit?
No, it was done, and we thought we were following the city's order to reduce it to its original state. And upon that completion, they said, well, wait a minute, we wanted to do some additional the design review board would need to be involved because unaware to us.
One more question, and how did you come up with your definition of what the original state was?
Back several years ago, it just seemed kind of obvious from new concretes to old concretes, new lumber to old lumber. That's kind of how we.
Are you a builder?
No.
Okay.
I worked in landscape construction for a while. It was done by, back then, it was done by a general contractor.
The design that was in 2004 at the 7,000 square feet, how did you know what design to bring it back to? The 2000, or the time period that you were reducing it in size? Were there pictures, were there plans?
I guess simply put, we got this project and it looked like there were some additions going on, and that seemed to be the concern of Mr. Billings, and we removed those, took that portion off of the house.
Were there
Just
plans
like-
made for this 7,000 square foot or 5,000 square foot house?
The actual plan was, I think the plans did exist, or I honestly can't remember, when the 7,000 square foot plans were put together. But we're led to believe there's about 3,000 square foot was done under permits. So there's detective work that needs to go on that happens in the building part, but we have to kind of get there, and so we're looking for the design aspect first, which I think we're following protocol. I'm led to believe we are.
Do we have any other questions for the owner? No?
Thank you.
Is your design person here or
No.
applicant?
No, this is, no. That's a whole nother story as well.
Well, let me ask you, actually, now that you brought that up, we're going to give you some comments and things like that. So who's going to do the work? Who's going to do the design work?
We're currently looking, or we've actually interviewed a couple licensed architects, because during this process, we've discovered that our fellow was a designer when we thought, after many thousands of dollars, that they weren't licensed architects.
So the person that prepared this package won't be involved?
Correct.
And this, forgive me, this person prepared this package really more on as-built. So this package is more like an as-built plans.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, I think that's it for the questions. Thank you. Did you find anything that... Yes? Renee, did you want to come back up? Okay, perfect. Name and address again, please, just because it's been...
Renee Sada,
Thank you.
Neighborhood Services Inspector, 141 North Glendale Avenue, room 114. I do have some copies of building permits over the years, I believe dating back to 1983, showing different additions to the property. Did you want me to give these to Rather, or would you guys want to look at these?
Could you, when you look at it and just see if, what's the maximum square footage that we're looking at? that
what are
was
they saying?
Or
allowed?
summarize it for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me do this first. Let me have Villia review these, if you don't mind, or Rather.
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead and clarify some of the chronology as far as enforcement.
Okay.
The initial inspection conducted by Building and Safety Inspector Ron Billings was on October 21st, 2004. And there's a letter dated November 10th, 2004 that was sent to the Ashay Land Industry Incorporated as a property owner on this property, which noted extensive addition and remodeling work in progress without approval, permits, or inspection approvals. Correction requires that you stop all work, obtain a building permit, and request inspection by the building inspection section. It also has a note if states return the structure to its original condition if permits are unobtainable. So that was the initial notice issued by Building and Safety. Then I have a subsequent report by Inspector Billings dated February 14th, 2007 to the City Attorney's Office, Deputy City Attorney Paul Early, and it gives a status of the complaint. One, subject property was inspected on February 13th, 2007 at the request of the City Attorney's Office. At this time, workers were in the process of removing portions of illegal construction. Number two, property is still in violation since permits will be required even to restore structure to original condition and work is ongoing. Number three, owner must submit plans and obtain permits before resuming any construction activity. Four, case may not be closed at this time. And then there's some photos that Inspector Billings took at that time, if you'd like to review those also.
Yes. Yes, look at that.
I believe that's here.
Start with the chairman.
Thank you.
I did a county assessor's check, and it still lists the property as 960 square feet, I believe, when it was last assessed.
Thank you.
Does it say a date when that was assessed?
I have a recording date of September 19th, 2006.
2006, okay.
Yes. And the square footage, 916, and it calls for a two-bedroom, two-bath.
I'm sorry, September 6, 2006, the property changed hands on?
Well, that was the last recording date on the roll values that they have on file.
Okay, there appear to be 4 permits on record regarding various additions. The latest one is dated 1997, and the earliest one is in 1967. It ranges anywhere from 180 square feet of an addition in 1967. 1983, there was a room addition, 13 by 15. 1992, there was a bathroom addition and a legalization of a deck. 1997 was an addition of a 2-car garage. What we can do, and again, this is a preliminary review, you are more than welcome to take a look at the plans that have been submitted and to make your comments purely on the design and the aesthetics, the mass and the scale, the other criteria that you would normally address in a design review board hearing. Because it is a preliminary review, your comments would then proceed on to the, to the subsequent proposal that goes before you for the final review. Given the scope of the work, what you can also do is to have the matter continued, to have the building official opine exactly what is legal and what is not legal. That is up to you. Because again, what you're evaluating would be any additions that they are proposing at this point in time, essentially to legalize. You can give your comments. It's out of mass, it's out of scale. It's greater in massing the neighborhood. The architectural style is not compatible. The fenestration patterns need to be worked on. Whatever other criteria and comments that you have regarding the preliminary review of this case. Or, if you wish, you can send this back, continue the matter, get an official opinion from the building inspector, or not the building inspector, from the building official as to what is legally there and how much of it is going to be legalized, and then reevaluate the case at that point in time.
This person will be able to tell
north hand on what I would consider the northeast side. I'm sorry, are you referring to the green portion? The green portion, correct. And is that what we or staff believes was the original layout?
Based on the building permits here, it appears that this portion right in here not reflected in the building permits. But this portion is definitely reflected in the building
And
permits.
that, give or take, adds up to about 1,000 square feet?
Correct.
Okay.
So, essentially, portion is legal.
the green portion.
This portion is legal. This I would still need to confirm because based, again,
You're more than welcome to take a look on the building outlines, on the rough sketches in the previous permits.
it appears that this larger portion may or may not.
If I may, members of the board, according to the plan that was submitted as part of this application, it's color-coded, so according to the designer who prepared it, he is saying that the blue and the pink area are areas that permits were issued for, however, it was never finalized. That totals about 725 square feet.
So we're missing those then.
And the other area supposedly is the original house. And then the rest, he's saying that it's all illegal addition.
Correct. And there's a comment made behind me that if the permits have been expired, unfortunately, that does not make the addition legal.
Yes, that's the other thing.
So this is
Were those permits officially expired?
Or were finals achieved?
Or were they just didn't get final inspection? There's a big difference.
Yeah.
The den was finalized. The bathroom addition was finalized. The permit for the garage, unfortunately, was expired.
The one that was demoed afterwards.
Actually, the construction of a new garage, 22 feet by 22 feet and a half over existing foundation slab, pulled in 1997. So this would be a detached two-car garage. Was actually expired. Correct. And
Was it then demolished?
Yeah, I think in the notes it said demolished. Is that?
And then later demolished.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So I guess that doesn't matter.
expired, demolished, it's gone.
it's gone.
Okay, I think that's good enough. Let's see. I don't have any more cards for this project. Is there anyone else that wanted to speak on it from the audience? Okay, please come up. If you could fill out a card afterwards, then. Name and address for the record, please.
Hello, my name is Askari. I live at 4041 Lehman Road, which is facing to this property you are talking about.
Is this your email that you sent us before?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
I have a complaint about this project because totally I lost my privacy all the way from my living room, dining room to my bedroom. And this is the picture I took from my living room. And that's the house you guys see.
Okay.
And also, when this gentleman was doing the construction on first floor, I was planning to put a addition on my living area, which is one extra bedroom, which is we needed very badly. Then I came to City of Glendale. I mentioned to plan check. They told me you have to prepare the plan and bring the picture from your neighborhood. I took the picture. I took it there. They said, I don't see any problem. Just you have to hire the architect and prepare the blueprint, which I did. Then it was ready to go to plan check. Then I mentioned to my neighbors, and one of them was Jesse's mother. And I told her we want to put second floor as an addition. And he told his son, and he didn't accept what I was doing that. And he gave an email to everybody. He's not going to accept. I put the addition on as a second floor because I don't know why. And that's the email he gave it to all the neighbors. But suddenly I saw the second floor going on his property. And I came to City of Glendale. I asked them what's going on, and they give me all the information. No, this job has been done without a permit. And he told me 5,600 square feet he put addition. The original house was 980 square feet because a couple of years before, on 1997, it was an open house. I was in that property as a buyer. Anyhow, that was my addition. Everything was ready for plan review. Then my architect said, no, you are wasting your money. If the neighbor has a complaint, you are wasting your time, and I stopped my project. Then 6 months after, I see he's going second floor. I came to city, they said that he doesn't have a permit.
What year was this?
This is 2006. And 2007, I was in city of Glendale. My project was going on. I think 2005 I prepared. 2006 I was working on plan. Then he mentioned that that's the 2007, yes. Then we stopped the project.
Okay. I think we get the gist of your complaint for the project. But I think you might have been misled by whoever was preparing your plans. I mean, just because a neighbor doesn't like your second story doesn't mean that the project will never be done. If it's well done.
No, he said if he has a complaint, the city won't.
No, there's no rule that says that if somebody complains, then you're not going to get a second floor. I mean, if it's done well, I mean, you'll see plenty of projects where we have second stories that are done well. But that's besides the point. We take note of your complaint,
Yes.
and as we'll discuss amongst ourselves, you're welcome to stay and listen. And if you could add anything else, you let us know. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. So you're saying you had these drawings prepared. You were going to add a second story to your house.
Yes.
This was around 2007, right?
Yeah.
And somebody told you can't do it because
No, my architect said
Yeah,
if the neighbor complains, city won't issue a permit. So you are wasting your money. You have to pay 3,000, 2,000 for plan review, and they're not going to give you permit. That's what he told me.
Okay, well, the point I was trying to make was we're going to add another story, and then you went to the city afterwards because you found out that the neighbor in question was building another piece on the second story, correct?
Yeah.
And that's how you found out that it was without permit.
Yeah, I came to the city, yeah. That's the city.
So this is
gave
in
it to me.
2007. I understand, that's okay.
Okay.
Clarification on that, just so I could understand the point that Mr. Aliano was asking. When you were trying to build your second story, you came to the city, and of course there's some correspondence, and you found out there were some issues with the neighbors and so forth. And did the neighbors, did Jesse's second floor pop up after?
Yes.
Afterwards?
Yes.
So after 2007?
No, I was in the city like 2005, end of 2005. I said if I want to put second story, what do I have to do?
Very good. So at some point in 2005, after 2005 is when the second story of his property popped up over your fence?
No. Could you repeat your question one more time?
At what year, to the best of your knowledge and recollection, did you notice a second story come out of his property?
It was, I think, end of the 2006 or middle of the 2006. I was out of country a few months. Then I came back. I see second story going on. Then I said to myself, he told me he's going to lose his privacy. How come I don't lose my privacy?
I understand that. But the point, there's something important going on here in that in 2006, which is way after the stop order was issued, sometime during that year, you noticed the second story pop up over that fence line, and you saw something that you hadn't seen before, which was a second story building. It was sometime around 2006, to the best of your knowledge?
I think so. It was 2006.
I have no idea.
No, the 2006 I went to city to find out how come, because he taught me if somebody want to put second story, the city is supposed to send out a notice to the neighbor.
Yes.
Ask them, do you have any complaint? That's what he said on his letter.
That's what that email
Yeah.
says.
Yeah, but that
And I
email-
learned from that letter, yeah.
But that email is dated 2007.
Yeah. Yeah. Then I went to city. I said, this building has a permit. They said no.
Okay. I think do we have any other questions?
I have no other questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on the matter? You okay? Okay. All right, then we'll close the session.
And one more item I want to mention.
Okay, real quick, because we need to continue with the case. Well, why don't you go down and find it, and then we'll bring you back up later if you find something, okay? Thank you. Go ahead, Vidhi.
Just for the record, based on the submitted plans, the applicant shows, according to the designer now, the portions of the house that were built with original permits. You'll notice on sheets A1 and A2. On A1, you'll see that it's color-coded. On sheet A3, will also refer to the existing house, which would be the building floor plan on the first floor. It also notes the existing house built with original permits as being approximately 980 square feet. There was added with permits would be area number 2, added with permits area number 3, and then the new floor area.
Right.
And we'll have you note that the building permits that we just reviewed, none of them indicated that there was a two-story structure on a lot. It was always a one-story structure. So we do know that parts on the first floor were added to the existing structure, and that the home has a brand-new two-story structure, or a second level that was never permitted at any time.
I think with the permits, it shows that possibly the green area might be.
Correct.
And then the areas 2 and 3, which are shown on the plans, we don't have any record of, so
Correct.
we can't really speak to that as being legal or...
Correct.
Okay, but then none of that shows at the second story, so that's made clear.
Correct.
By your comments. Okay, so now let's close the session and discuss.
Does that gentleman have that information that he wanted to provide?
Well, maybe we could talk. You have it now? Okay, let's open it up again. Name and address for the record, and please keep it brief. We need to.
Ascari, I live at 4041 Lehman Road, La Placenta. And I heard they said after 2007 there wasn't any more job done. About 10 months or 1 year ago, this gentleman put the retaining wall, like 150 linear foot on his south side of the property, and I checked the city, there is no permit, and that's the picture.
Okay, could you provide that?
Another thing, his elevation of the lot, he put 4 feet dirt to bring it up, and there was the access for sewer line is disappear. That's supposed to be on the southeast corner of his lot. That's city easement. We cannot cover the sewer line access. He put 4 feet dirt to bring his lot up without a permit. All this job been done without a permit lately, maybe a year ago.
Okay, could you provide that to Renee, please, as a copy? Did you have any? I think we're... Okay, well, why don't you go ahead and come up then? Name and address for the record, please.
Jesse Asgary, 4104 Lowell. In regards to the retaining wall, it's under 4 foot. When it came to the city, they said we require that there's no slope or grade. It's just retaining straight soil. I believe his second-story addition, if you look at the property line approximate houses, they're over 100 feet apart from each other. And I guess his initial issue was losing privacy, yet he wants to build a second story on his house so that you could see windows to windows. And I believe his was stopped because he had gone out one day with his landscape crew and sheared off a heritage oak tree, which we did call the police on, and there's been some animosity between the two since some of the branches were near 2-foot diameter. The sewer was lost 30 years ago by the city, and last year we had a bobcat, and we helped them find it. They raised it correctly, so all is good on the lot.
Okay, well, we'll pass it on to him, and we'll let him take care of it. Thank you.
Oh, and just for the record, if anyone shows us photographs, we do have to make copies of it. So, sir, if you don't mind giving that to either myself or to Rather, so that...
I'd like to have a copy as well.
Yes, please.
Well, you'll get the originals
Well, you'll
back.
get-
You'll get the
Actually, we have
original.
to keep the originals because they're color copies. But we'll give the copies
Oh, we
back.
can't
to
make a copy, okay. All right, so then we'll close it up and...
Sir, why don't you hand it to me and
discuss.
I'll make copies of it for you.
Correct.
Mr. Insua, would you like to get us started?
Yep, I'll be quick, I promise. The neighborhood guidelines in the single-family neighborhood online analysis essentially says this. The homes in a neighborhood are modest, ranging from 1,250 to 1,500 square feet, and rarely exceed 1 story. The architectural style is eclectic, so there's nothing really prominent. The homes are well-maintained, and the overall landscaping is also not a major feature. Okay. But average homes, 1,250 to 1,500, and rarely exceed single story. So my recommendation or my thinking is this. For the preliminary submittal that he has done, my comments are, 1, to have a professional designer or architect prepare a properly designed plans for the resubmittal to DRB, which works with the neighborhood guidelines and the neighborhood analysis, which is provided there. That the square footage of this project not exceed 3,000 square feet, including a 2-car garage, again, because going back to the neighborhood average, and I think that that is consistent to this neighborhood, and that would be clearly, just simple, that's what he needs to do when he comes back.
Thank you.
I would agree with those comments, but I would also like to ask that upon getting a professional and doing the plans, that there be a time frame, because this has gone on for too many years, and the submittals are year after year after year, that we say within 3 months we need to see preliminary plans or something of that nature, a reasonable amount of time, but not when they wish to do so.
Okay, thank you.
I can, again, just chime in quickly. I think you can ask for that, but I don't know that we can require it. I don't know. Again, this is a city attorney case right now, and our goal always, if I may speak for neighborhood services staff, is to gain compliance. And yes, it's taken a very long time. There's no doubt, longer than it probably should have. But this is where we are, and I think if you want to ask him to do that, that's fine. But a requirement to do it, he's got to resubmit within 90 days anyway. But this is only a preliminary review. If you asked for return for redesign, he'd have to be back within 90 days. But even if he didn't, he'd just get a new case number. And so it's really difficult to put a time frame on. And I understand where you're coming from, and logically, we would hope that they would make haste and get in here. But the other issue is before they go to final, they're going to have to decide if they're going to file for a variance. That's the other issue, which they would have to do before they come back for final DRB. So if Mr. Insua's proposal of 3,000 square feet is the limit, is that's what you agree to or recommend, which again he does not have to agree with, then he would not need a variance. So that would he would be able to get back here quicker, hopefully. But I don't know that legally, and I'm not an attorney, so I will not pose as one. And I don't know that we can require him to return at a certain time. Obviously, the longer he goes out, it becomes neighborhood services and the city attorney's call to say, you're just delaying and we're going to take you to court. I mean, they can take him to court now if they wanted to. Am I correct, Mr. Sada? I would imagine they could initiate proceedings.
I believe the proceedings have been initiated.
Oh, okay. So we're already in the court process, and the court is probably holding up to see what we're going to do.
I just wanted to make sure there was some expediting of this whole.
Yeah, and
We can ask for it, I mean,
Yes.
yeah, you can ask, but again, it's a recommendation.
okay, thank you.
Right. Yeah, I won't add much more. I agree with everything that's been said thus far. I think it's nice that you came to us to get our advice, to figure out how to proceed. I think Mr. Rather Dwang has done a good job in giving an outline of what should be done. I think there's some very good comments. I think the best advice we can give you is what's just been said. Hire a really good architect and let him give us his best shot. And this design is not acceptable. So to go ahead and nitpick and try to figure out move windows and roofs, it will be a waste of time. I think your architect needs to look at this and say, what can I do to this to really reduce the mass and make it more compatible with the neighborhood, and remove as much as necessary, whatever he has to do, and then come back to us and see what he has. So I'm going to leave it at that.
I agree with all the comments that have been made. I believe the easiest way to try to fix this colossal problem, and it's a colossal problem. I could only imagine what you're going through financially and emotionally, and I could understand what the neighbors are going through, and I could also understand the impact that this is placing on the city. So you have all these people going back and forth, neighborhood services and inspectors and city attorney, and a lot of activities occurring, a lot of energy is being spent here. And at the end of the day, for any building to be legalized in this lot, as far as the design review board is concerned, as an acceptable design, is going to be wildly different than what's here. Wildly different. So in other words, what you have is not going to work as far as the massing, the scale, orientation, privacy, materials, windows, fenestrations, so forth. And I'm being very upfront with you to try to help you with advice, because you're going to go home and you're going to think about all this, and you're going to try to do what's right for you and your family. And the way that you can make an educated decision as to which route to take is to try to understand from us what we're going to ask of you. And this is preliminary. And so what this board is telling you and what everyone's telling you up here is that it's going to be a much smaller home. That second floor, most of it is probably going to go away. There's going to be some other issues with the site as far as retaining of soil, as far as import and export issues that have come up. All that stuff is going to come up. And so you really need, as Mr. Aliano and Insua and others have pointed out, a very credible and a very experienced architect to come in, or a designer. One that understands the guidelines of City of Glendale, one that has worked in the city, and the more of an experienced person you get that has more of that exposure, the quicker this process will move forward. Of course, you get somebody that hasn't done a lot of work in the city, and there's always a learning curve to find out the local ordinances and so forth. But if you get an individual that is more familiar with them, you'll be able to push forward. And that is the best advice I think I could offer, and I say advice is because this is preliminary.
Thank you. I think a lot of my comments I concur with my board members. Now, when it's brought to us sort of in a preliminary state, it's sort of, they give us a design for us to look at, and it's something there for us to digest and sort of, process and sort of be able to give feedback on. The set of drawings here, I mean, they're good in a sense that it documents what's there now, but it doesn't give us any sense for what you're planning to do. And we can't sit here to, give you a sense for you should do this, move this around, do that, because that's not our job, And so our job is to say yes or no, that works with what we want. it's working well or not, but not to actually design the thing for you. Now, I was kind of rather surprised actually when you came in and you were so nonchalantly talking about sort of the problem and what's happened, because when I read this thing and looked at what's going on, I was sort of expecting someone to come in and say, we got to this point and, we really need your help to get it to a point. It was more like, we built this little 5-foot addition and, can you legalize it for me? And that was sort of what I was getting from you, and that just shocked me because you have a 2-story addition to this house. And you're going to live there. I don't know who else lives there, but that worries me for you. And it's not being done the way it just kind of blows my mind. And so I would say find somebody. I mean, I'm sorry that you ran into someone that you thought was licensed architect and that kind of stuff, and I feel sorry for you on that. But there's a lot to do there, and if you come back with anything that resembles this, it's not going to fly. And I'm telling you now because you're basically starting over now, and so don't go sort of the easy way out and try to put some lipstick on this pig and let it fly kind of thing. It's not going to work, and so I'm telling you now, make something drastic and something good that we will be proud to approve, if it gets to that point. Don't waste your time, don't waste our time, okay? Thank you.
Okay, so
Read back some of the comments.
the staff heard several important comments that the board wanted to send across to the applicant. First and foremost is that he needs to obtain a professional designer or architect to help him through this process and come back with a design that is much smaller than what is being proposed right now, and with a scale, mass and scale that is appropriate to the neighborhood, as well as the size of the house that's appropriate to the neighborhood and consistent with the average for that neighborhood. And more importantly, don't come with a project that is similar to this, because this project, as proposed right now, is not nearly close to what the board would approve. So basically, the applicant needs to start from scratch with the help of a professional and pay attention to the guidelines, the single-family guideline analysis and guidelines, and that's what those were the main points that I heard from the board, and that the board's not here to design the project for the applicant, so he would need to depend on a professional who's familiar with the project in the city of Glendale.
I don't know if the other board members would agree with this, but I would believe that this is if you establish a top set, then you can work to that. And for me, the top set is not exceeding 3,000 square feet, including a 2-car garage. I think that gives you a sense of where we can go, and those other issues of mass and scale and everything else, it's not something you have to not worry too much about, but it just establishes a top set. And I think that would be key in this case.
And I think that's a great idea. Mr. Garcia, do you also think we should give him some guidance on whether a second floor is acceptable?
Great question. I don't think let me think. I've often been surprised of how someone who does it well designs a second story in a 1-story neighborhood. I'd hate to limit someone with the guidelines that we're saying, do it professionally done, think of the neighborhood guidelines, work all those things professionally, and constrain them, especially in a lot like this that would not have the freedom to be a 2-story. So a 3-story, single-story gets to be kind of spread out. So I would be comfortable with a 2-story, maximum 3,000 square feet, including a 2-car garage, and see if they can do it well and professionally.
I think you're right. There's plenty of lot space to have a comfortable 2-story sit inside of it. Maybe not presently with that, but I mean, you understand.
Mr. Insua, you stated that the maximum you would like to see this project be is 3,000 square feet, including a 2-car garage. Is that 3,000 square feet just the livable area, or the 400 square foot for a 2-car garage is included in the 3,000?
No, that would be, for example, two-car garage is like 750 square feet. So that means the livable square footage of the house would be somewhere around 2,300,
So, including the garage space.
including the
Including
garage.
garage,
Not
3,000.
Okay.
Yeah, including. So the house would be somewhere around 2,300 square feet.
Or they could have a smaller garage and more livable space.
Yes, but I think the smallest garage you can get and be code compliant is around 700 to 750.
Actually,
No, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
500. Sorry, I forgot.
a two-car
Too many years ago, I did houses, correct.
That's a
It's
big
just under
garage.
500. My mistake, correct.
It's a two-car garage that meets code. Currently, it's 20 by 20 inside, which is a.
And you're looking at about 441.
Yeah,
it's about 441 outside
My
garage.
mistake, I just have big cars.
Mind you, if I may point out,
Sorry.
per the zoning code and the zoning designation of this property and the lot size, code would permit a 4,919 square foot house.
That's correct, but the neighborhood guidelines, I think in this case, for me at least, takes precedence because we want to make it work within the fabric of the neighborhood.
I'm sorry, we can't, because it's being recorded. I'm sorry, we can't, we're still close. We'll have you back up if you want to come up.
So do we have?
I'm okay using the 3,000 as a guide. If they go a little bit over, but they can make it work, I'm okay with. But I think that's a good guide to go with. I think the 3,000 square feet is a good guideline to go by. So,
Okay,
I'm
so
willing to
we'll
support
we'll
that.
include that in the comments to the applicant that design a house that is within or close to 3,000 square feet, including the garage space, the minimum size garage space that meets code for a two-car garage.
that's okay. And we're still keeping all the comments that you had previously, right?
We can include that as well.
Yeah,
Yes.
let's keep all those. That's good.
Do
Were there any
we have a
more?
motion?
Was that all the comments? Okay.
Yes. Did I miss anything?
And I was just going to ask regarding the 14 comments that were presented in the staff report. So if those have been incorporated and noted, duly noted, that would be my only comment.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
I'd make a motion to, it's not return for redesign.
No, it would be
Proceed with comments.
Proceed.
proceed with comments, yeah.
Second that.
Okay. So there's a motion by Mr. Nsua and a second by Ms. Palmer. This will be roll call. Mr. Eliano,
Yes.
Mr. Nsua,
Yes.
Mr. Simonian,
Yes.
Ms. Palmer,
Yes.
and Chairman Yu.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you.
Yep.
We do have the minutes from Thursday, December the 3rd before you, so we would need to have those reviewed and approved by the Design Review Board if you so wish, and all 5 board members were present.
I move
Questions? No? Okay.
I move we
corrections?
approve those minutes.
Motion made by Board Member Palmer, a second by Board Member Eliano. Board Member Eliano?
Yes.
Board Member Simonian?
Yes.
Board Member Insua?
Yes.
Board Member Palmer?
Yes.
Chairman Yu?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. We have no other items on tonight's agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting at 6:25?
Before I move,
I apologize.
did we get the card from the gentleman? I didn't see the.
Yes, I do have the gentleman's card.
I moved for adjournment.
Oh, before we do, I just remembered, we will be having on February the 11th, there will be and again, this is not your evening for Design Review Board. This would be, I believe, board member, the second board member, Board 2. That evening, we are going to have code ethics training. So all those board members who would like to have a refresher, you're more than welcome to attend. All the new board members are required to attend.
What's the date on that?
That would be February the 11th.
February 11th.
So, and this will not just be for Design Review Board members, but this will be for all boards and commissions. So you'll have planning commissioners there.
At the regular time?
I believe it's regular time. We will make you aware of if there are any